Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Park Hopper Daily Interviews. This is show number 7 for Monday, March 15th, 2021, and on today's episode we are reminiscing, or whatever the word is for looking back, but in a kind of fearful, depressed reverence, about our COVID year. What would we have done differently had we known then what we know now? What got us through pandemic times? Have things gotten a little weird? All this and more on our COVID-iversary episode of the Park Hopper Daily Interviews.
Hey, it's Catherine with Park Hopper Daily, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Anita Boyer.
Hello.
We are back for another podcast this week, and we've decided to talk a little bit about our COVID-iversary because, of course, it was about a year ago today that really the country shut down, including Disneyland and Disney World.
Yep.
So 1 year later.
So wild. One of my biggest questions that I've been kind of asking myself the last couple of weeks is, if I had known going into that initial 2-week lockdown, which just sounds like so ridiculous to me now, but if I had known at that time that a couple weeks was really realistically going to be a year before we start to see things slowly open up and kind of not that I think their normal is necessarily ever going to be a thing again, but if I had known it was going to be a year, would I have done anything different? Would you? Is there any?
So, I mean, if I'm thinking about that in terms of like Disney and the parks, we had just returned from Disneyland.
Wow.
2 weeks before the lockdown began. We were at Disneyland at the end of February. We did 2 days, a day in each park, and we stayed at the Disneyland Resort, which I was really excited to do.
I love that hotel. Oh my gosh.
So beautiful. Great pool, wonderful slide.
The monorail, right? It's like the old school, this sign is on it. This one.
Exactly. And it just was like a really wonderful experience if you're used to going to the Florida parks to be able to just walk from your resort everywhere. You don't need transportation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would have done anything different in that respect because I was just coming back from a Disney park.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What about you? What would you have done differently?
If I had known that for April, May into June was just all going to be virtual, I might have, if Joe was game, I might have, even though Disney World parks weren't open and everything was closed, I might have gone somewhere warmer and Airbnb for a couple of months and just teach all of my classes remotely, there. That's probably the biggest thing for me, because as I look back and think about it, I mean, even in early April, I remember emailing back and forth with the theater. We were supposed to, my theater company was supposed to do a show in May, and in early April, I was still like, well, maybe by May, let's not cancel it till we have to.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, was it good though to kind of have things slowly, kind of because to just have all of that just be done in one moment, would that have been too much to handle? Was it okay that it was well, there's still hope? Okay, well, but that's not going to happen, but let's still hope for in a couple weeks from now. Well, that's not going to happen, but let's still hope,
100%. So I can't tell you how many Disney trips I planned during COVID. So I was supposed to go with my husband for our first adult-only trip, 4 nights away from our children at Walt Disney World. Had the best reservations, like Flying Fish, California Grill, Tomatoes Terrace. We were poised to have just this amazing, it was basically an anniversary birthday trip. And it was April 29th was when we were supposed to go down there. And so right when we went into the 2-week lockdown, I still had that reservation. I was like, I'm not doing anything with that reservation. We're going to totally be able to do that trip still. A few weeks later, I realized that was not likely reality. And so I canceled that, but then I also planned a birthday trip for my son for June 10th, which of course we had to cancel.
Yeah.
My daughter and I always take a girls' trip in September.
Yeah.
So we planned that trip, also canceled, you know. So, but in a way, like you said, like the fact that the lockdown kind of came through in a trickle as a business owner, as a parent, just like across the board, that probably saved me psychologically.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a Disney fan, in a way, planning those trips and like continually rebooking and like thinking about when I had to make my dining reservations and, you know, was I going to be making fast passes and all of that.
Yeah.
It kind of kept me sane, you know?
1,000,000%. Joe and I probably plan, well, by that, I mean, I told him what I was doing. I was planning it. We planned, replanned, talked about if it was going to be okay to go. I mean, we were supposed to go in June 20th was going to be our wedding. And I remember the day that we officially pulled the plug because we had, I have very dear friends who live in Norway who are actually Matthias. He was our exchange student who lived with my family when I was a senior in high school. So we've stayed close. He's my brother from another mother. Aww. And Joe and I got to visit them in March of 2019. I'm so glad we did that trip. We're like, this whole last year has been us being like, we're so glad we took these trips that we couldn't afford and didn't make sense. And, you know, we're just like so glad. You got to do stuff when you can safely, you know. But when he messaged me and he was like, listen, Norway is not going to, like, we're not actually allowed to leave. Like, we can't leave. We're taking this as a country, like it's very serious. So, you know, do whatever you need to do. And then when I told him that we were going to postpone, he was just so sweet. He was like, if you lost any money on this, like, our wedding gift to you is to reimburse you. And I was like, that's the most generous, sweet thing. I was like weeping, like reading his messages and stuff. And I was like, bonus of planning things through Disney is that we didn't lose anything, fortunately. And I was part of a few Facebook groups for expectant brides. And the whole time, like, I got added to the group by a friend in March, and I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad being here because by June, I don't need to be here. I was in such denial. I was like so snobby, like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. And the day that we decided it was me on our we have a big beanbag chair, just bottle of champagne, and I binge watched every Lindsay Lohan movie that I could think of. And that's all I did. I drank champagne and I watched Lindsay Lohan movies and I cried. And I was like, I am part of this group, but I have to leave now because it's too sad. Bye.
So now, can you tell me, if it's not too painful, can you tell me a little bit about what your plans were for the wedding?
Yes, because someday we're going to do this trip just as a friend's trip because it was going to be so much fun. And it's also part of the reason why we had to do our crazy long honeymoon, because I had banked and borrowed so many points into 2020 that we just had mega points because we were going to get one of the 3-bedroom theme park view suites at the Contemporary, and that's where the wedding was going to be. And we were going to like get married in the afternoon and then like celebrate, and everyone was going to be in the room with us. And I think it was a total of like 20 people, and we were going to watch the fireworks from the balcony. So that was really like the big day. And then our wedding favor for everyone were these really cool shirts that Joe designed. That's kind of like the Star Wars, you know, like the not the TIE fighter, the X-Wing. So okay. It's the X-Wing, and then like the little Joe.
Yeah.
Will you get me one of our bags, our wedding favor bags?
Where are they?
Oh wait, I have one right here. Hold on, I have one.
It already sounds like the coolest wedding that didn't ever happen.
This is the logo. So
oh my god, that's amazing. I'm gonna need this.
So we did get married in October. So we ended up just making everyone toast because I was like, no one wants to wear this as a shirt now. It was going to be cute if we were going around. I'll make you a shirt. I actually have extra bags if you want one. That was going to be our thing. The next day, I was like, I promise I will let you guys chill before, like, you can Disney however you want, but the day after the wedding, you're with me. And we're going to go to all 4 parks, and we're going to be in our shirts, and it's going to be craziness. And then we were going to end in Epcot with a big dinner at Beer Garden, because we thought that would be the safest, because it's like everyone would be drinking beer, and some of our friends are drinkers. And I was like, I don't want to, I'm not taking them to Oga's and spend $2,000 on the bar tab. I was like, you can have beer, and then it's a buffet. So I knew what the price was going to be. So that was about like the cheapest but most fun like Disney wedding without actually going through Weddings by Disney, because the cheapest Weddings by Disney is like noon, and or maybe even like before the park officially, maybe like 9 a.m. in Epcot in Canada, and just by the waterfall. And it comes with a champagne toast and a cake, and it was like gonna be, for 20 people, it was going to be like $8,000 or $9,000 just for those 2 hours. And I was like, for $8,000, I think that I can show my friends a little bit better of a time than like the front side of Canadian Water. So
love that. Well, that sounds like an amazing trip. You have to do that.
We will, and you will be a part of it.
Yes. I will tell you, it is actually on my daughter's bucket list to stay in one of the 3-bedroom theme park views at the Contemporary. I don't know how she stumbled upon a YouTube video, but she found her way to this YouTube video, and she still makes me watch it. Like every now and then she's like, can we just go ahead and watch the Contemporary 3-bedroom room tour? And I'm like, okay, honey, we can do that.
That video, probably the same video, is like what I sent to all the guests. Like, this is where the wedding is. Go ahead, watch it. And I think to do it right, I mean, we were just going to do one night because that's what I had the points for, because I was also booking like rooms for other people with my points. I think you got to get it for 2 nights though, because otherwise you don't even have it for 24 hours if you have to check in at 4. I'm guessing this is not the kind of room that you necessarily get an early check-in for. Like, they're probably going to need every second of cleaning time to get through all 3 bedrooms and this massive kitchen, huge living room. But you know, when we do it, let's do it for 2 nights so that we can really experience.
Well, and think about it, like if you're splitting it, I mean, it's still going to be obscenely expensive, but you know, it'll feel a little less obscenely expensive if you're sharing that cost. And like, I mean, especially once the fireworks return, what an amazing experience to have, you know? I mean, and like get a bottle of champagne and, you know, just sit out there and enjoy that just incredible view.
And how I feel right now talking about all this, that this is what got me through COVID, was all like this energy of like, okay, we're going to plan this, we're going to do this, even when we were switching gears. So wedding got canceled. Then we replanned our wedding for like a wedding. You were telling me before we started recording about your backyard wedding that you had kind of before your big wedding and how special that was. So we kind of planned our big wedding, didn't have it. And then we had our little wedding, but then we had all this money that we didn't spend on our wedding that we were like 2-month honeymoon. And I couldn't recommend that more.
Absolutely.
So forget about the big wedding. Just go enjoy each other.
Well, and also, you know, unfortunately your wedding was on Halloween, and because of COVID, you know, my children basically looked at me and were like, we are having Halloween. You cannot go to Anita's wedding. Because otherwise I would have been there with bells on.
And we gave everyone like stage notice.
What?
And we gave everyone like 6 days notice.
Yeah, it was last week. But your wedding was so beautiful and intimate. And, that's what we got out of our backyard wedding. That was so much more special in a lot of ways than our larger wedding, which it was great to be with so many friends and family on that day. But the smaller, more intimate wedding, it really felt like it was about my husband and I getting married, and the time that you and Joe got to have in Florida after that. I mean, what a way to begin a marriage.
While traveling and being away from our home that long during a pandemic had its own like underlying stress, like just being able to like be there and just be really like ensconced with each other and not distracted by all kinds of other stuff. It was wonderful. I want to go back to it.
So actually, let's segue there and say, when are you planning on going back? Do you guys have a date?
June 14th.
Okay, great. Do you know where you're staying yet?
No, I haven't had time to plan it yet. I keep like logging on to DVC, and because you're only allowed to borrow 50% of your points, and because I had already for the wedding that didn't happen, like borrowed, I have a December use year. So if you're for DVC people, like I'm still in my 2020 use year because my use year starts December and then ends December of the following year. Doesn't really make sense in my mind, but they've explained it to me so many times that I just stopped asking. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like December is January. It's just 11 months later. So December 2021, then I will have access to a ton more points. So up until December 2021, I really only have like 4 or 5 more nights that I can book with my current DVC points, unless Disney changes its policy and lets members borrow more than 50%. I think they were just doing that because of COVID and so many rescheduled vacations and all of these different factors. Normally you can borrow your whole entire, so you can essentially, like if you have a contract that's 100 points, that will get you like 4 nights a year at Poly, or like 4 nights at Riviera or Grand Floridian, or like 9 to 10 nights at like a Saratoga Springs or like that level. Normally you could borrow an entire year, have your current year, and then, or bank an entire year, have your year and borrow. So you could have 3 times as many points as you normally would have for a year every 3 years if you wanted. So that's kind of what we did, which is why we had so many points to use and why I kind of have no more points left. But okay, because there's always time to add on. They're running lots of specials now. I get a mailer like once a week and I'm like,
I know. So I'm not DVC yet. And I get so many emails and mailers because they know like that I go there a lot. They're like, come join us, be in DVC. But I'm waiting until I can buy cash. And that's what I've decided, is because that way, I know that its value, really, I just don't want to finance it with all the interest and all of that. So just buy with cash will feel really good. One day I will be there.
We'll do it. I believe in you.
You can do it.
So we're actually, my theater company, we're doing our first live in-person show since COVID, since actually December of 2019. Oh my God, of 2019. That was our last in-person show that we got to do together. And so we're doing another show June 12th at West Hampton Beach in New York. And my parents are going to come for it. So I talked to my mom last night. I was like, we were going to go to Disney on the 13th, but if you and Dad are coming, I will spend the day with you on the 13th, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I'm excited to see them. And then we're going to go to Disney on the 14th. I'm trying to get them to come with us because even if they don't go to the parks, like they have so much fun. They just love it.
Are they nervous about going to Disney because of COVID?
So my mom really wants to build a patio off of their new condo that they recently retired to in Maine. So she's like, I think that we're spending our vacation money this year on a patio. They're already had their first shots. They're going to be fully vaccinated. They're fine. I think they're just like, we can't vacation this year because we're buying a patio. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're retired, aren't you? That's the most retired sentence I've ever heard in my life. I can't go to Disney because I'm buying a patio. I was like, please, I'm going to pay for you to come to Disney because you've never sounded older, Mom.
It would be so so nice for the four of you to have that experience too, especially since I think you guys will probably be fully vaccinated at that point as well.
Yes, May 6th, we go for our first shots. And then 3 weeks, and I'm really excited to be vaccinated before the show too, just because as good as we are about being strict about our rules and distancing, we have kids as young as 5 and 6, maybe 6 and 7, and then adults. And if a kid needs me, like, I'm not gonna be like, stay 6 feet away from me. Like, I'm gonna help them, so we'll safely, of course, don't come at me, but it'll make me feel better to know that I am going to not be giving them anything or getting anything from them, and being safe for everyone.
So I wanted to touch on, before we wrap up, your pandemic project, which was your apartment, another thing that got you through COVID. So now, would you have done anything differently? Would you have started earlier? Would you have changed anything that you guys did?
No.
And for our listeners who aren't watching on YouTube, Anita's entire apartment has been Disneyed out, with various walls and theming. Although I think there is one wall that's dedicated to Pink Floyd now. Yes. But the rest of the apartment is basically Disney. Anita can never leave this apartment. She and Joe will live here forever.
Forever. That, and hopefully our condo that we buy in Florida and share and Airbnb and stay there all the time. I love, it's so funny to like look back, because now on, memories that pop up on Facebook and Instagram and all of that, it's like, here's where you were a year ago. And it's like, we're getting to those days when we were about to lock down. But I'm excited to see like when the projects start popping up and be like, our Epcot wall is almost a year old.
Amazing.
Like, that doesn't make, this last year just doesn't make sense. Like, there was some like Marty McFly, Dr. Emmett Brown, like time travel, flux capacitor madness going on this year. I loved our projects, and they inspired the next one, because you can't have a wall like this and then have a white wall next to it. So this wall turned into Hollywood Studios.
So cute.
Which we actually pulled the colors from a photo of the Skyliner. Those, the bars, and then the like little silver, and like Joe bought new, like chrome handles for his dresser. So we would get like those glints of the chrome and everything. And then the Epcot wall was the third installment, because it was the biggest. It was actually our first idea, but it was so daunting. We're like, okay, what can we do to kind of gear up for this? And then when we got back from our honeymoon, I was looking around the apartment and just feeling very guilty that the apartment had turned into mini Disney. And I was like, I know Joe loves it. Like, he truly does. He is not brainwashed. Babe, you're not brainwashed, right?
What?
Oh, he's fine. You're fine. I was like, we need it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we spent our little self-isolation time when we got home from our trip. I gave him a Pink Floyd wall because that's his favorite band. But I loved our projects. Did you guys have any like home improvement, or like, I know you're such a great cook. Like, if you had like probably a lot more time to indulge in your chef side.
So we own a newspaper group on the East End of Long Island. My husband
got it right there.
The Express News Group, which includes the Sag Harbor Express, the East Hampton Press, and the Southampton Press Western and Eastern editions, as well as 27east.com. So we never stopped working. And in fact, we worked harder than we had ever worked in our lives, because our team got smaller. Like a lot of businesses, the financial impact of COVID was swift on our company. But you know what? We've rebounded. We're doing really well. So we were very busy throughout the spring, which in a way was good. Like, along with Disney planning, just always having things to do to keep my mind off what was going on was really important. But we did have some projects. We got really into Disney puzzles. So we did a few 1,000-piece Disney puzzles. We did a Lion King puzzle. That was our first one. We did a Pandora puzzle. That was really fun. And that was really great. And I actually need to get a puzzle table because I found that was like a very meditative thing to do, but it totally took over our kitchen table.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like really sustainable.
Yeah. They make like mats that you can roll up.
Yeah, that messes up. Like they have like, it's almost like a tray that's the size of a 1,000-piece puzzle that has like little drawers on the side where the pieces you haven't used yet sit.
Oh, cool.
So one day I will get one of those. We also did do Disney food. Now I am cooking my way through Delicious Disney on the channel. And that's really fun. And it's a very challenging cookbook. So for a cook like me, it's a really great exercise. But during the pandemic, we tried to perfect at-home Dole Whip. We never really quite got there. We don't have like a soft serve machine or anything like that, but we did try a few different Dole Whip recipes. Like we made sure we, had one for the Disney sing-alongs that they were doing. Remember?
Oh my God.
Like lifesavers,
Yes. Those, yes.
I mean, I think I cried like almost the whole way through the first one. My daughter was like, "What's wrong with you, Mom?" And then we also I learned how to make Disneyland style corn dogs, which I'm actually pretty good at it.
Like the red truck ones?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming over as soon as I'm vaccinated. You're making me corn dogs.
I would love to, and it's actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And once I learned the recipe, it was great. So those were definitely some fun pandemic projects, awesome. Along with multiple trip planning.
And you also supported local artists because look behind you. That's why we match. Because you were the first patron of my crazy Disney art period.
I love it so much too. And I need to paint this room, and this is my home office, and I need to kind of, I'm like trying to hide my laundry right now, but I need to work with this room a little bit. And that's
if you need someone to come and do it, Joe and I are ready. I'm volunteering him.
I mean, I think that
you volunteered. He's fine.
He's fine. Everything's okay. Yeah, and so I actually recently did get a like a vintage Soarin' poster from Shop Disney. They were selling those.
Nice.
So I got one of those, and my good friend Ben over at Hampton Photo Arts in Bridgehampton, which if you're on the East End of Long Island, they're an amazing local business. So he's actually framing it for me right now. So that's gonna go like somewhere in that vicinity.
Cool.
So I mean, I'll never rise to your occasion of your apartment because my husband will not allow me to. But I do have Disney plans for this wall.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yay!
So that probably just about wraps us up for this week.
I know. And we got to deep dive into Disney tangents that had nothing to do with our topic, which I think is kind of our thing.
What you do.
I love it. So much for this fun. I wouldn't be able to handle it being the COVID-versary if it wasn't for people like you and projects like this and the Disney store in Riverhead. Shout outs to my Disney store family. They announced that they are one of the Disney stores closing on or before March 23rd. Joe and I actually went to the store yesterday and brought everyone who was working there a little $5 Starbucks gift card and our love and appreciation. And so we had a good little bonding moment. But these are the things that got us through the last year. And planning and replanning and canceling and uncanceling and just like flying by the seat of our pants and emotional roller coasters and Hawaiian roller coasters and just everything.
Well, and Park Hopper Daily has been a big part of, kind of the what I'm hoping is the end of our COVID era. And we started this in December, I think. And, it's been a really great funnel for energy as well. We both love Disney and the parks, and, I'm somebody who's in news, and, you're an actress and dancer. And so combined, I think that we have created something really fun that, you know, I know for me energizes me week in and week out. And so to anybody who's listening or watching, thank you so much for supporting us. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a good rating on your podcast channel, wherever you're tuning in, and we will hopefully see you really soon.